The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting of December 19th. We'll call this meeting to order. And first of all, this evening we have Megan LeBlanc with us. She's got some concerns at Affinity, and we'd be more than happy to hear these. Megan, we'll have some Q&A after, and please go ahead.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you, Council, for taking the time to listen. My name is Megan LeBlanc. I was born and raised in Estevan, and I'm very grateful to be from such a supportive small community. I am greatly involved with multiple programs and hockey teams in the community. I learned a lot working in Edmonton using facilities similar to Affinity, running dryland training for professional hockey players associated with multiple NHL teams. I'm happy to have the opportunity to share this with our community. I spend my free time around the rink volunteering, my time coaching minor hockey. I've been retained by teams in the community to organize athletic programs on and off the ice. Part of the reason for retaining someone for dryland is so that the players are not just free roaming the rink when they do stairs and conditioning. By having an organized plan, I maintain structure and safety while using Affinity Place. By having structure and managing the time, these athletes have no time to be wandering or causing mischief. I hope you can understand my concern. On November the 24th, Mrs. Erin Wilson stormed over to me during a session and unprofessionally stated to all that could hear that this program is to be cut. I asked Mrs. Wilson why. She said there was a complaint. While unable to produce the name of the complainant, she assured me that her new policy will be passed in the immediate future. This surprised me, as no one has ever complained. Nothing but positivity from the walkers, lots of friendly communication with them. Can I join? I need to do something like this. This looks fun. Great job with the team, Megan. I once even had a couple women walking join in on the drills we were doing, and I was happy to have them. It was fun. Walkers stop and watch the footwork and compliment the players. If someone indeed did complain about me personally, then I feel it is only fair that the person talks to me directly, because it has been nothing but a positive sense of community while I am on the track, and I have received constant support from other users of the track. After Mrs. Wilson informed me I will no longer be able to use the track because of one, which I will assume anonymous complaint, I spoke with council members and other track users in the community with the goal to gain some more insight on what the actual problem was, because I truly do not believe what I am doing is a problem. Through these conversations, I learned that no one could really come up with one problem, and I will admit it is challenging speaking on something when I myself am still not 100% sure what the problem is. If a concern is established, I'm very open to ideas to solve whatever this concern may be, but to drastically create a policy because of one possible complaint is wrong. I want to make it very clear I do not run my fitness business out of Affinity. In extreme weather, we are limited on where we can go to run, as no one wants to run outside in winter. The stairs make for a great workout and are a huge value to our community. I do not advertise to book sessions at the track. Coaches hire me to keep it organized. Teams often have dryland or pregame warm-ups at tracks all over the world, at tracks in rinks all over the world. I am simply just there to keep structure. If I wasn't there, it would be chaotic. I only use the track approximately 2 hours per week. Many days, there is next to no one on the track. However, when the track is busy, I go out of my way to make sure everyone is happy. I created a rule with my athletes that they all know walkers have the right of way. I ensure the teams I work with are polite and respectful. Everyone on this track is there for the same reason, to get healthy, and it's easy to respect that. It honestly makes me happy when the track is busy to see so many different kinds of people, all members of our community in the same place, putting their health first. It was brought to my attention the complaint could be due to people bringing weights from Affinity Gym to the Affinity track. Although I do pay for a leisure center gym membership, I rarely use the gym there, and I have never brought the gym weights over to the track. However, I don't see an issue with it either, as everyone is being responsible and respectful with the equipment. I ask you keep in mind this is a sports facility and that this is not an uncommon thing to see. The term liability has been used way too loosely, as my athletes and myself are clearly not a liability. In following protocol, the last couple weeks I have observed welding on the track and weeks of standing on ladders in the middle of the track to set up Christmas lights, all without any form of caution. Respectfully, why is Mrs. Wilson creating a problem that does not exist? The track is a happy, safe environment, whether it be a trainer or coach instructing, sports teams running stairs, the elderly and moms with strollers walking, or the daycare kids running around. The one thing we all have in common is we are choosing to use a shared public space. No one is forced to be there. In my opinion, to have hockey teams' dryland taken away by simply creating a self-serving policy is wrong. I believe it would be in the best interest of all users in the facility to leave things as they are and use the facility to its maximum potential. On behalf of myself, Blonnie's Gear, multiple EMHA teams, the AAA Bears, and Sacred Heart School Hockey Academy, all of which you support Affinity endlessly, we strongly disagree with Mrs. Wilson and any policy that will not allow for us community members to use the public track. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to me. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Now, when you set up, do you have equipment alongside the track?
Yes, it's on the cement along the side.
Okay, so are you covered for insurance, for liability in case someone did get hurt falling on it?
I can be.
Yeah, I think we would expect that you'd have to carry that insurance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll open the floor for questions or comments from members of council. And we are, Megan, looking at a policy, and that's why we were happy you came tonight. We'll listen to you, and hopefully we can get a policy that everyone's happy with.
Of course, I appreciate it.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Cerny.
Thank you for coming in. It's always good to hear the other side of the story as well. Is the only thing I really want to know right now, is there a preferred time slot, or do you just come in like whenever they have a game kind of thing, so there really is no time that you could book?
Yeah, so typically when I have teams in there, it will be in the evening at some point. It kind of varies on that depending on when their ice time is. It would be before or after their ice time. And then they would also be on the track, right, for pregame warm-ups and cool-downs before and after their hockey games.
Okay, so there's just to confirm too, so there's kind of two different, like you'll do it before hockey games, and then there's also kind of like a class that comes in, if you will?
Yeah, like their team workouts. So their games are usually on the weekends, so they'd be on the track then, and then also depending on when their practice time is before, so usually about 6 o'clock at night for 45 minutes.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Brova.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Megan, for coming in. I know when you called me a few weeks ago to discuss this with me, most of the points you talked about tonight were exactly the same. The one thing I was wondering is, do you do it when, say, the figure skaters were on and there's parents out there watching? You wouldn't have guys running up and down the stairs, or say it's the same thing in a game. If a game was going on, you would use the track, but you wouldn't say use the stairs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, we've been nothing but friendly with everyone else in the facility. Like, if it is busy in one area, we will move, and like, we don't just go where everyone else is. I'll try my best to kind of space it out the best that we can. And yeah, like, usually, like, to be honest, a lot of the times there isn't anyone really in there. Like, there will be people on the ice, whether that be figure skating or minor hockey stuff, but like on the track and in the stairs, there usually isn't a whole lot of people there. On the days that there is, we try our best to stay to the side, or we go down to the far side, kind of where like those tables are set up at the end.
And one of the concerns that I had heard was basically Estevan minor hockey players running full speed from the Power Dodge Ice Center to Affinity in order to get to the track. So I don't know if that's something that you've ever seen, but also when they're on the track, do you allow them to go full speed ahead if there's walkers, or how does that happen?
I have no idea from them walking from the PDIC over to Affinity. That's not me, I'm not sure. But they will run full speed, but when there's walkers, we go to the side and we go a way around them. Like as I stated in here, like they all know the rule that I created is walkers have the right of way, and we're very respectful to them when we are passing them.
Okay, so there hasn't been any near misses or anybody's been taken out by a hockey player? No?
Not with me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Ford.
Thanks so much for coming in today. Are you able to tell us what kind of equipment that you do bring onto the track or onto the side, like you had stated, please?
Of course, no weights or anything like that. Just pylons, like cones for agility stuff, and then occasionally a ladder and a couple of hurdles. That's about it, just stuff that lays on the ground.
Okay, any other comments, questions of Megan? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much, Megan, for coming in and clarifying your position. And we will be working with Aaron on putting a policy forward, and thank you for your input, much appreciated. Councillor Ford.
Sorry, and I think it should just be noted that this policy isn't to maybe hinder the users of the track. It's just to create maybe a safe space for everybody so that everybody is aware of the rules, because I know over the years we've kind of let some people do this and some people do that, and we've never really said a whole lot about it. So this would create something that is uniform for absolutely everybody. So it's not to harm or hinder anybody's ability to work out at the track, but it's just to be able to know what the rules are, basically.
Yeah, it's our understanding, Megan, in the province, we're the only one with a free track, and we wanted it to be free. I know Ray Freilich that put money toward it. He was hoping it could be free, and up till this point in time, it has been, and hopefully we can maintain that. So thank you again this evening for coming in.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. And again, you're more than welcome to stay for the evening. Many people have stayed and enjoyed it. On the other hand, there have been a few that have been dissatisfied, but whatever you would like to do.
I think I'm good here, but thank you.
Okay. Okay, next, could we have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you, Councillor Vroba, seconded by Councillor Clark. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could we have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of our last council meeting? Thank you, Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Cernick. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations and petitions, we have from Limitless their 6-month statistics, which we had requested. Any questions or comments from members of council? If not, do we have a motion to accept? Thank you, Councillor Cernick. Have we got a seconder? Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees this evening, we have none. Executive reports from Land Development. We have the subdivision report 04 SUB 2022. And Richard, thank you for coming this evening. Please turn your mic on. And did you have any comments at the onset?
The only thing, Your Worship, thank you, and Council, is from the meeting that was had at the RM, I'm told, and I believe I sent an email to you indicating that there's no further correspondence from the RM on this matter expected at this time.
That's correct. Thank you for that. Did you want to just give a brief report on the subdivision report?
Sure. The subdivision is to create a 25-acre industrial site in approximately the northeast corner of the quarter section that's directly east of the comprehensive high school, sorry. There are a number of factors to consider on this subdivision. One is that there is an agreement that's currently in place between the city and Saturn Power. We have an amending agreement that would free up this area. So that is something that administration council have to decide whether or not to go ahead with that. Another option, another factor dealing with an agreement is there is a proposed agreement between a future industrial developer and the city that's still in drafting stage, I guess, to put it rightly. With the subdivision itself, the 25-acre lot would be rectangular in shape, and it would be offset about 400 meters from Kensington Avenue. So this would require a roadway to be built, and the best place for that roadway in city engineering's and land development's opinion is right on the north boundary of the quarter section. So that would intersect with Kensington Ave right near the northeast corner of the school property, and right at the point where the speed limit on Kensington changes from 50 to 60 kilometers an hour. The proposed roadway would provide servicing to the remainder of the lands, as well as the proposed site to both to the south and to the quarter section to the north. There is a environmental reserve dedication that should be considered on the subdivision, but I believe it can be postponed to the future when we have to do a neighborhood plan for the site. The environmental reserve would be that low area that extends from the pond to the south in the northwesterly direction up towards the bypass. It's a fairly major drainage basin. There's also a municipal reserve dedication that this property could be subject to. That is up to 5% of the value of the land, or it can be 5% of land, or be a combination of the both. What land development is proposing in this case is that be deferred until such time as we have a better idea what the remainder of that quarter section is going to look like. One of the options as well is it can be deferred to even another quarter section that the city as a current landowner owns. So 5% of 25 acres, that could be added to a municipal reserve allocation, say for example in the Tremont area or an area north of St. Mary's School as an alternative. So there are some alternatives there.
Okay, thank you, Richard. And the Ministry of Highways was contacted, no objections. Sask Power, no objections. SaskTel, no objections. Sask Energy, no objections. School authorities, no response. Historical Resource Online Tool, archaeological evaluation not required. We did meet with yourself, our liaison committee, Councillor Ford and Councillor Clark, with the RM. They were very happy. They had some questions. We answered all their questions. At this time, I guess they're keeping their powder dry. They're saying, you know, no, nothing further is required. So we'll see where that goes. But it would appear that they were fairly happy at the meeting.
I would concur with that, yes.
Okay, any further questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Broba.
Thank you, Worship. Richard, I was just curious with this road that has to be constructed to city standards, would that be a paved road or would gravel be sufficient out there?
That hasn't been determined. Generally, for new roads, we do like to have them hard surfaced. So I would imagine that this would be to be hard surfaced in the future. There's some matters related to agreements for who pays for what that's going to have to be worked out, and I think it'll probably be decided at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
And I would think, Councillor Vroba, initially it may be like a super grid with gravel, but we'd have to have that dust-free as a minimum standard, I would think, and then with the intention of perhaps pavement down the road.
So I think that was my concern, Your Worship, is that if we've entered into agreements in the past where it starts out as a grid and then nothing really gets done with it, so it stays as a grid versus turning into the hard surface pavement that we like.
We can put those requirements in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Cernak.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to clarify, so we're just approving it to become an industrial site tonight? Like when we approve this, we're not putting shovels in the ground tomorrow kind of thing?
That's right. The proponent, Councillor Cernak, still has a few more hoops to jump. Hopefully it'll be positive, but they're still not there yet. Richard, anything else?
Yes, if council were to give approval with conditions, and I outlined 9 conditions on this one, then what can happen is the approval can stay in place. The approval is valid for 90 days to get all the conditions met in order to do a certificate of approval, right? That can be subject to a time extension though. So land development, I believe what we're proposing is that if council gives the approval here, that should give a very good confidence level to a potential developer who might want to purchase a site and develop it. But I would suggest we would wait from this point forward after a decision's made today. And all I need then is if I get the go-ahead from city administration that we want a title to issue, I need approximately 45 to 60 days at that point to hire a surveyor and get pins in the ground, that kind of thing. Subject, of course, to the time of year. Might need a little extra time if it's during spring breakup.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cernak. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think this is a great idea, and I thank you for your proposal. And if this, once we move forward, this is going to be a great economic driver for our community. So I don't see any problem with us moving forward with this. So I'd make the motion to accept this report and go with his recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ford. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Frank, thank you. I'll just go over the 9 recommendations before we make the motion. Sure. The proposed subdivision, the recommendation is from Richard that the proposed subdivision be approved, subject to the following requirements. Number 1, subdivision to be registered in accordance with a tentative plan to be prepared by a Saskatchewan land surveyor. Number 2, off-site development fee determination to be deferred to the development permit stage. Number 3, access road to be prepared under a separate road plan of survey to be registered concurrently with the plan of survey for the proposed lot. Number 4, access road to be developed to city standards. Roadway to be developed to a minimum of 30 meters east of the west boundary of the proposed lot. Number 5, easement to be registered against a balance of the quarter section to allow for a turnaround with a minimum radius of 30 meters adjacent to the west boundary of the proposed lot and the proposed roadway. And the sketch is attached. Number 6, council to determine a name for the proposed roadway as per council policy for inclusion in roadway plan of survey prior to the registration. Number 7, municipal reserve owing on the proposed parcel to be deferred to the balance of the quarter section 190 of the Planning and Development Act. Number 8, Saturn Power agreement to be amended, discharged prior to issuance of a certificate of approval on the proposed subdivision and road plan. So basically any encumbrances will be taken care of. Number 9, agreement with the proponent of a future industrial use to be executed prior to advancing this approval to the survey stage. So Land Development Services recommends that the subdivision process be paused. Once a decision is issued by council, should it become necessary to take the final step in the subdivision and create a title for the road plan and subdivision, a minimum of, as Richard just said, of 60 days notice is recommended. So there we go, council. We've got the motion. Are we ready for the question? Any further comments? Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just when would this go in front of police and fire to ensure the appropriate access to and from the property? Is that at this stage, or would that be when a developer comes in?
My understanding that would be before the building stage to see what would be needed for fire exits, entrances, and all the rest. Correct, City Manager?
Yes, Your Worship. I believe as part of the development permit and building permit, it would be run by emergency services at that time, depending on what the hazards would be at that time.
That's correct. Richard?
Yeah, also as a subdivision here, that this proposal has been referred to everybody within operations group of the city, as well as franchise utilities, school boards, Ministry of Highways, and the adjoining municipality.
Including, as I mentioned, power, energy, and SaskTel. Yeah. Okay. Nothing further. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next, under executive reports, we have from Land Development again, lot consolidation of 1223 and 1225 Fourth. Richard, if you don't mind, would you like to give a brief explanation of that, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. This one's a little bit simpler than the last one. The company that owns the two lots where Pliny Jones is located, there's two buildings there. They're very close to each other. They'd like to construct a breezeway between the two, but that would mean putting a development across the property line, which is a no-no. So they're consolidating the two lots into one. The result is going to be you're going to have one lot with two buildings on it and multiple services, of course. That's already been reviewed with operations and there's no concerns raised. So we're recommending an unconditional approval on this.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a question. If down the road they want to go back to two separate buildings, is it sort of just a reverse process to separate it?
Yes, they would have to start with a subdivision and hire a surveyor, and basically what they've done now. But it would have. There is a process that you could potentially reverse it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments, Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Your Worship. So does this building now become taxed as one property, or is it still taxed as two separate addresses?
Currently, yes, it's one building on each property, and now it'll be one property with two buildings on it. So tax will work that out, would be my understanding.
And then would the addresses still be 1223 and 1225, or would it just
If they maintain those entrances onto 4th Street as part of the renovation, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll make the recommendation that we proceed with this.
Okay, you'll make the motion. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Clark, thank you. So we have the motion for the lot consolidation proposal, 1223, 1225 4th Street, Lot 32, Lot 33, Block 19, Plan 12538. Seeing no further questions or comments, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas, Mayor and Council. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you for coming this evening. I know it's time away from family. Thank you for that. Very Merry Christmas. Thank you. The check's in the mail, Richard. Don't hold your breath. Just kidding. Anyway, next, from the water treatment plant and water manager, chemical tenders for 2023. So this was opened at City Hall, 3 p.m. Tuesday, December 13th, for the treatment chemicals used at the water treatment plant. This year, ammonium sulfate was tendered. We still use it as a coagulant during the summer months. All prices include taxes and shipping. Deposits are not included and are returned when the containers are returned. All chemicals must be certified as NSF for water treatment. Clearwater provides a higher concentration of HFS acid that is NFS certified. As being around double the concentration, half the number of barrels will be needed to be used in a year. The volume of KMNO4 was lowered in the tender from 160 containers to 100. This is due to Rafferty water and the lower chemical dose it requires. So a lot less treatment now that we've gone over to Rafferty. So thank Council for that. That was a great decision. So the tenders were as follows. Liquid chlorine water treatment plant. The lower tender was Brenntag Canada for $41,731, a 26% increase in pricing from last year. So part of these price increases is the fact with the shipping, the higher fuel costs, higher shipping, and just the fact of getting the product here, everything is a lot more money. KMNO4 for the water treatment plant tender to be awarded to Brenntag as per their tendered price of $18,952.50. Here again, 22% 22.8 increase in pricing from last year. The total amount is lower due to the change in amount of KMNO4 needed. So again, because we're dealing with Rafferty, we need a lot less chemicals, which is great. Ammonium sulfate for the water treatment plant tender to be awarded to Clearwater as per their tendering price of $14,647.50, 2.5% increase from last year. HSF acid fluoride tender to be awarded to Clearwater as per their tendered price of $12,733.81, shipping included, a 13% increase from last year. Aluminum sulfate tender to be awarded to Chemtrade as per their tendered price of $96,740, shipping included. This chemical was not tendered last year. Most of the chemicals we use at the water treatment plant are imported from overseas or are transported large distances. The sharp increase in chemical is due to shipping increases and increase in pricing for manufacturing. I'm hoping this trend will taper off and we will get more stable pricing next year. Over the past 2 years, the notable increases are chlorine, 56% increase. KMNO4, 47.9% increase. Aluminum sulfate, 31.1% increase. The chemical costs for plant remain much lower since switching to Rafferty. Lower dosages are what keeps chemical costs within budget. With these prices, we could see an overage in the chemical budget. If this trend continues, we'll need to look at increasing water rates to compensate. So we can shoulder some of these costs in the short term. Longer term, unfortunately, we'll have to pass them on. The disposition of this report is within City Council's authority, and the water treatment plant is waiting authorization from Council to proceed with using the noted distributor, that's my word for tonight, for the supply of water treatment chemicals for 23. Okay, Councillor Clark, you had your hand up. Was that a motion?
I just have a little question here.
A little question? Go ahead.
Sorry, Your Worship. Just on the aluminum sulfate, it said it'd be awarded to Chemtrade at the price of $96,740, and on the tender it said doesn't show that number. Am I missing something there?
Well, City Clerk was at the tender opening. I'm pretty sure that number is correct, City Manager.
Yeah, I'd have to double check.
We can double check if you like with Shane. I think that is the correct number, but we can double check.
I'm just looking on the list here under aluminum. Am I on the right one? So
Yeah, we've got,
101,577.
so,
City Clerk?
so, yeah, the tendered amount that they, I can't even remember which one, it might have been Chemtrade. Their calculation that they did as a final total was not correct, so he went back and clarified with them. So, but why, I know some of them are, they have different size totes. So sometimes that makes a difference, but I don't know off the top of my head this one.
Yeah, and I think part of maybe the confusion, if you look at that page, ammonium sulfate, water treatment plant, that's so much a kg. That's a smaller amount than the aluminum, not to be confused with ammonium. The aluminum sulfate, that is the one that we get by ton. So it's a lot more product, and that's why probably the higher price. But we can double check, Councillor Clark, if you like. Okay? We can do that.
I think the other ones were all, the numbers showed up there correctly and they
Okay, City
matched,
Manager?
but-
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, I believe there's an error there. I'll confirm with Shane on the exact amount.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we do we have a motion then to accept with, as the City Manager, City Clerk said, with the corrected amounts if needed? Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Ford. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under introduction of bylaws, we have none this evening. Public hearing and reports, none this evening. Giving notice, none this evening. Motions from committee, none this evening. Consideration of bylaws, none this evening. Inquiries. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually, just one of the phone calls I had taken was from Megan, and that was brought to tonight, so that was good. The other thing is a lot of kudos to our staff from so many citizens just commenting how great. It was very efficient, it's been quick, and even getting rid of the windrows that are down the middle of the street has been very quick. So just a big thank you to the staff because they've been working very hard. Those guys have been going nonstop. I know even over on Jubilee, they cleared it out because of Twinkle Tour. That's been coming, so that started last night with the Woodlawn, and a lot of people went and watched the fireworks and everything, and then started the tour. So I know tonight the seniors of Creighton Lodge, there's 26 of them on 2 Smile Van buses, and they're going to the Twinkle Tour tonight, so hopefully everyone has their lights on.
Awesome,
the
yeah,
Vroba.
that's great. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Here, I thought it was because you phoned and said, do you know who I am?
No.
But no,
it is
that's great. Thank you.
Definitely the Twinkle Tour route,
That's
just
awesome.
to clarify.
And yes, our crew, they do a fantastic job. We've got great employees. We thank the contractors as well because they did work day and night. I mean, this was a huge snowfall. They
Yeah.
did tremendous work, so we can't thank them enough.
No, and actually they did, even for Melody's funeral, they made sure the snow routes were all cleared so that people would have sufficient parking, and that, to me, that just signifies like living in a smaller community to be able to do that so that the people that are coming to that funeral, especially the seniors or the people that have a difficulty walking long distances, were able to park on the streets and be safe about it. So, no,
Absolutely.
it's a huge effort by our staff and the contractors, and it's been noticed. And so I just feel like anyone that visits Estevan from Saskatoon, Regina, they may want to come live here after seeing how great our streets look.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Second to none. Yeah. Did you want to talk about Santa tonight? It's our last meeting before Christmas.
No, and I hope he comes because I have not shopped, I have not done anything, and I have 20 people coming on Christmas Eve. So
You're hoping he does some baking as well?
Anybody that has extra gifts, just call me, I'll come pick them up.
You'll come pick them up?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to acknowledge all the people that Christmas Hamper, the Salvation Army, they had a pajama group that have done things to make everybody's Christmas memorable and a lot easier for some. And I think this community has done just a superb job in supporting those. And I just want to thank everybody. Also wish Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hopefully we can carry on those traditions in this community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Clark. And yeah, we've got some great groups in our community. Not only do we do the best at volunteering, but when it comes Christmas time, we've got some awesome groups who we can't thank enough. They raise money for people who need it and for the kids who need it, so we can't thank them enough. Thank you. Councillor Blazer?
Thank you, Your Worship. We were able last night to see the lights up at Affinity Place. It is beautiful, and the city is hosting a Twinkle Skate on December 23rd for the community to come out and enjoy.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. I actually had 2 phone calls today just about pathways being cleared. Just a reminder, until our streets get cleared up and we have some available staff and some time, pathways will not be cleared. And as I got this phone call, I was cuddled up on my couch with about 3 blankets because I was so cold. And I was like, what are you doing outside? But for now, the pathways are not a high priority list, I believe. Is that correct, City
That's
Manager?
true.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. Yeah, there is some of that equipment that initially gets used for sidewalks and parking lots, but I can follow up with Rod March on the expectation of the snow removal on the pathways.
Yeah, I talked to Rod today, so yeah, the sidewalks come first. And then when we get time, which probably will be coming in short order, then the pathways. Absolutely right.
Thank you. But it is an opportunity to go to the library, and they have snowshoes you can take out with your library card, and you can trudge through the paths without them being clear. So it's a great opportunity to do something new outdoors.
Absolutely.
And I'd just like to wish everybody a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. Councillor Cernak?
Thank you, Your Worship. No inquiries tonight, but I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all the best in 2023.
Thank you. Councillor Frank?
no inquiries as well. Councillor Ford, you could always go out and shovel all the pathways for everybody. That would be a great community service if you'd like, but no other.
Councillor Frank, Councillor Ford can't take another fall. We will not,
That's true.
we will not be having her do any shoveling.
That's true. I guess the rest of us will just have to go and pitch in. How about that? No, thank you again to our roads crew. That's been all I've heard the last few weeks is just how incredible it is after 2 large storms back to back that our streets are immaculate. Usually before I even get to work, the streets are already all cleaned up, so it's great. So, and Merry Christmas to everyone else as well.
Thank you, Councillor Frank. City Manager?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Okay, City Clerk?
Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody stays happy and healthy.
Thank you. City Treasurer? Okay, I too would like to wish all the very best that the season brings. A very Merry Christmas. I hope Santa's good to everyone and all your wishes come true, and a very happy, healthy, and prosperous 23. I'd also like to wish out for the press and the paper who stand by us through thick and thin. Roberta, she runs that camera like a complete professional, make us all look good, even though some days I know I'm not that good, but it's awesome. Thank you all for the job that you do. And with that, do we have a motion to move into committee? Thank you, Councillor Walese, seconded by Councillor Ford. Are we all in agreement? Yes, thank you. We stand adjourned. Thank you.